Good. All right, let's start this meeting this evening with invocation by Pastor Flack, please.
Welcome any of you to join me in prayer. Be exalted, O God, above the heavens. Let your glory be over all the earth. O God, thank you for these servants around this table that you have given to our city. I ask that you would keep them in body and mind so that they might accomplish their work. We pray especially this afternoon for Mayor Young that you would restore her in body and mind to this work. Give them understanding so that in their decisions and their declarations, they would promote what is good and resist what is evil. Preserve peace among them as they deliberate, and we pray that you would extend that peace to our city. Lord, where their family members have made sacrifices so that they might serve us, we pray that you'd comfort their loved ones. Protect those who protect us. Strengthen those who respond to our emergencies. Cause our city to flourish in ways that honor you. May Jesus Christ, the crucified and risen Lord, be exalted in this place to the end of the earth. I ask in his name. Amen.
Amen. Pastor, thank you. Pledge allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, call this meeting to order. Roll call, Tina, please.
Mayor Young. Vice Mayor Wilcox.
Here.
Commissioner Greenlee.
Here.
Commissioner Murphy.
Here.
Commissioner Slattery.
Present.
Thank you.
I will start with the public forum. Persons who wish to address the City Commission regarding items that are not on the agenda may do so at this time when called upon. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes and should give their name and address when addressing the Commission. Any presentation is for information purposes only. Any and all written communication should be deposited with the City Clerk. Do we have anyone who cares to comment? Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda presented by Mark Westhoff, City Manager.
Thank you, Vice Mayor, City Commissioners. So we have 6 items on the consent agenda tonight. First is to approve the minutes of the January 21st, 2025 City Commission meeting. Second is to approve Resolution 3407, authorizing staff to proceed with acquisitions, record, and record easements with the Register of Deeds and submit necessary documentation to KDOT this is for the Patriot Street Bridge project that will be undertaken this summer. This next one is as well to approve Resolution 3408, authorizing staff to proceed with acquisitions, record easements with the Register of Deeds, and submit necessary documentation to KDOT for a second easement that's needed for the project. Fourth is to approve the 2025 workers' compensation insurance with the Kansas Municipal Insurance Trust, or KMIT. Fifth, to adopt Resolution 3409, granting an easement at the Amelia Earhart Airport to Magellan Pipeline Company, LP, for the purpose of installing and maintaining a gas pipeline. And sixth, is to authorize city staff to execute reimbursement agreement number 2 with Magellan Pipeline Company, LP, including the payment of $1,515,000 to Magellan for the purpose of relocating a gas pipeline at the Amelia Earhart Airport. The last 2 there are for the airport project that we've been discussing at length in the past. That was held up in part because Magellan needed to relocate a gas pipeline around the future runway, and they're ready to move forward with that project. We will receive 95% reimbursement for this payment, the $1.5 million, 90% from the FAA, and 5% from KDOT, right? Yep. So the local match comes to $75,000.
Any questions, comments?
The water line, is it going to be same kind of a deal? We know yet?
Water line
Yeah.
at the airport,
Yeah.
it's already done.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, good.
Yeah, so when this is completed, we should be ready to move forward full steam ahead with the runway project.
Well, given all the things that have happened the last couple weeks at the federal level,
Yeah.
we're
Yeah, if you'd like me to, I can talk about that briefly, I guess. This payment was ready to go the day that we got the word about the federal freeze on funds. We came in and there was a lot of confusion that day, but when a list was ultimately given on what the project was, this one was included in the freeze. So we held payment because we were going to be reimbursed by the FAA, let's say for 90% of this. Yeah, fairly confident that we would eventually be reimbursed for this, even if there was a freeze. But we also didn't want to be chasing over $1 million from the federal government for who knows how long. However, obviously that order was rescinded, and at this time, all of the systems where we would receive this reimbursement are open. So we like to go ahead and get it in now in case anything changes in the future. I'll have in my update there were other systems, other city projects affected by that, but we'll talk about that at that time.
Would you be able to speculate any kind of time frame that you'd be able to recoup funds?
Generally, it's within about a week. So, yeah, sooner better. If there's unrest or unease about how it's going to look in the future, this project has been approved, appropriated, and everything by every level of government, from the federal government on down to our local government. So we'd like to move forward with it if the funding is there. So.
On a separate note, I should have brought this up before, but would it be best to remove item 2 as a separate vote, since that is in my neighborhood? It affects me personally. So
I think it's a public street, though. It's not directly adjacent to your property. I mean, I drive over that bridge, and so does my family pretty frequently, so I don't think that's needed. It's not an easement for your property. It's an easement for a different resident, so 2 and 3 are both that same area, but I don't think we need to remove that. But obviously, we could ask Bob too.
I don't see a problem.
Yeah.
I see a problem.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
A second? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we'll move on to new business. Item 1, public hearing of the KDC Small Cities CDBG funds under the housing rehabilitation category. Presented by Justin Pajant, please. Thank you.
So what I want to do with this presentation should be a little bit of history of why this is on the agenda, and then Garrett Nordstrom is here with Government Assistance Services. He knows CDBG frontward, backwards, upside down, and inside out, and so specific questions about how we're anticipating this can be administered and who can be eligible and how all that works. He'll give a little bit of a presentation, but so we all know that the City of Atchison has been a pretty active player in the Community Development Block Grant Program. During my time around the City of Atchison, which is 10 or 11 years now, we've been pretty successful getting what are typically community facilities grants. Most of those have been neighborhood sidewalk projects. In a couple of cases, there were some downtown sidewalks. We've gotten a couple of commercial rehabilitation grants, those 526 commercial and 729 commercial. And then there's also the LFM Park Improvement Project, which is the same Community Development Block Grant Program, federally speaking. This is the first time that the City of Atchison has decided to go after housing funds from CDBG since, I'll say, like 2007-ish, plus or minus 2 years. So I wasn't here at that time. So what this program can do is more or less help folks who meet certain income requirements, fix up properties that might mean a new roof, it could mean a sagging front porch, it could mean an HVAC improvement, a long list of things that can be done, and I'll let Garrett get into that a little bit more. But the reason we're here is because when the ARPA funds came out, one of the things that Atchison wanted to do, the city wanted to do, was to try and put some of that funding into rehabilitating existing, older, dilapidated housing stock, specifically for folks who were struggling to afford the types of improvements that need to happen. Building a program like that from scratch on a one-time basis is quite difficult to do, especially when you're trying to build a program like that as a group and get feedback and try to coalesce around one strategy. And so that effort didn't really get off the ground. And the idea came up at one point that if we were to pursue this CDBG opportunity, that program's already built, all those policies, procedures, what's gone well, what hasn't gone well, all of that's in place. And so for the fees of more or less going after hiring a grant administrator who knows how to do that really well, this grant can be for $300,000, and it gets spread among a number of different property owners. I think it'd be not something they were like 20 or 25 per property. So it's not an enormous amount of funding, but it makes a noticeable impact, and so that's why we're here talking about it today. Any questions on sort of the background of why this is on the agenda today? I know we've gone months without discussing this specific topic. There's been a lot of background work to get us here.
So remind me, is this to owners only?
Garrett can answer that, so we'll come back to that.
How do we decide on 300,000?
I think that's just the state process. So these are federal funds that are administered by the State Department of Commerce. And so you apply for them, and they've decided, right, wrong, indifferent, that 300,000 is still the case, isn't it, Gary?
It is.
Yeah. They've decided that that's, you may have seen in the newspaper a report recently, is going after the same program. 300,000 is just a number that the state is.
Did you say this is similar to what they had when I was on commission back in 2000?
I don't know the history back that far. I know there was one in mid-2000s focused on South Atchison properties.
Yeah. And if my memory serves me right, there were some requirements as ADA compliance and those kind of things.
The same, we've had this conversation about other CDBG projects too. All of those, there are 300,000 is great, but it comes with a series of checklist things that you have to abide by, and some of those are really difficult. Some of them can be at expense to the project, certainly. There's a lot of administration to it.
Like some of those places, ADA compliant would be whole 30,000. That's the way those things usually work out, but anyway.
Okay, I'll let Garrett knows the program way better than I do, so I'll let him introduce himself and discuss his company and their role here, and then we can try and see what. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. I'm Garrett Nordstrom with Governmental Assistance Services. We were the firm that helped Mr. and get that previous grant, South That's 2005, 2006. So it's been a while. We're also seeing this in the park rehabilitation downtown here, which is kind of lined up here. So I'll go ahead and answer the questions again. We're talking 300,000. Maybe we'll start there. The maximum that we can ask for the CDBG program is 300,000. We have a maximum per domicile of 25,000. That's set by the government. As if we exceed $25,000 in the grant, then we have to, if we go in and do construction on lead-based paint, we have to abate it completely out of the home. And so the Kansas CDBG program has kept that limit below $25,000. Out of that, we have to pay a lead-based paint risk assessor, a housing quality inspector, and also some admin fees. We get it down there to what we think is going to be right about $22,500 per home. And I didn't see who said it over here, but the ADA accessibility isn't necessarily one single activity that we direct for. We try to get in. We're going to hire a housing quality inspector to go and look at housing inspector. You would have a real estate identify the problems in the home, but also somebody has some real experience in construction trades that we can put together a work right for the home. We've got 22.5 or so to spend on a home. That housing quality inspector can have to work with the contractor and come to agreement on what we may be able to fix in the home for that money. Obviously, construction costs are amazing. We joke about what it costs to fix. We can fix a roof or siding, doors, or go in and help a restroom or kitchen. We try to get the most of the money possible. See, what's our $300,000 limit? So we figure that we'll probably be able to get 10 houses, roughly 22.5 a piece, plus all the base paint, risk assessment, housing quality. So that's what we're going to go for. The CDBG program will allow us to go in for another $200,000 if we're going to include a neighborhood as a rehabilitation piece to that. So if we pick a targeted area and we want to go into the neighborhood and fix up some sidewalks or the street or some other sort of public infrastructure in that target area, then let's go capture another $200,000. That's not what we've identified here. Isn't necessarily what our target is. So any more questions?
What do you charge for this service?
So the maximum for the admin, now we're talking about pulling all the money down, paying all the bills, making sure it's auditable with the federal government. There's a maximum limit of $30,000 that the Department of Commerce pays for. It's part of the grant expense. So most administrators, there are very few in the state, I think, that actually have experience doing it, but it'd be $30,000.
So my question, is this through the homeowner?
You have the question, okay. So homeowners are our target for this, but as long as the renter in the home, what really target is low to moderate income persons living in the home. So renters also can, if let's say homeowners or people that are renting homes are eligible, they just have to match 25% project.
So that's my next question. What is their match? 25%?
25%. If we have a renter that is, I guess you would say a landlord that is low to moderate income, then they still have to match 25%. If they are a landlord that is not low to moderate income, then we can still take part as long as the resident inside the domicile is low to moderate income. Then they have to match it.
Do you know what those numbers are as far as low and moderate income for admin?
I do, actually. I had it ready just in case, but we talk about being low to moderate income means to be at least 80% less than the county median. So a one-person home is $46,350. Would you like me to read them all to you?
No, that's
Let's just
for
say
one person?
One person's $46,350, and we typically go in the middle. So 4 people, $66,000. That's the combined household. So we verify that, and if 4 people are in the home, dad and 2 kids, they have to go below $66,150.
So they got to be 80%. They got to be less than 80% of that.
That's the number.
That's the number after the 80% is applied to it.
That's right. That number is 80% of the county.
Okay.
Does these people that actually own their homes, and let's say they're elderly, 75,
Hey.
No, not trying to insult anybody. If these people were to pass away or become incapable of living in their houses, where does the city or the CDBG grant, how does that evolve? Does that create a limbo situation?
Great question. So it's very simple. When they agree to take this rehabilitation money for the home, the city and if the administrator is going to help place a 3-year lien that's forgivable 33% a year, so it's prorated. And if someone would become incapacitated or be unable to live there, as long as somebody lived in the home that was still low to moderate income, right? There's no repayment at all. Once 3 years passes, then I guess there are no limits at all to what the homeowner can do. Is that?
Okay, yeah, that's kind of what I was asking, that we had a situation here not too long ago that we had to,
And it would be up to this body in the city itself. Almost.
the lien would be held by the city,
Yeah, the city.
not the federal government.
We'd help file that lien.
Okay.
So is this a certain area of town we're looking at, one area? Where's that area?
We did, so, is it okay?
Yeah, I'll speak to that. So CDBG, and Garrett can speak more to the scoring and how that works. They don't want you to just say, hey, the entire city's eligible for this. Take all comers. I think the theory behind it is that they want to concentrate it so that they can have a noticeable impact. Instead of picking 10 random houses throughout the entire town, they want to have more of an impact and concentrate that into an area. And so understanding that we had done South Atchison the last time around for this opportunity, what I thought, it made sense to me anyway to direct Garrett, and we published this thing focusing on the oldest area of Atchison, that being from the railroad tracks to Unity Street and from the river to 10th Street. That'd be the old Atchison plat. And if this is successful, then there can be an opportunity in a subsequent year to do North Atchison or other areas. So that's where we settled. But we'll take those applications or gauge interest from this press release and some of the feelers that have been put out. So that area is still a little bit of a moving target until we know what they call pre-applications start to come in, so we have a better grip of that.
Do the homes have to be a certain age? I mean, do they have to be 40 years old, 50 years old, or can they be 20 years old? Because, when you start about rehabbing a piece of real estate, if you're rehabbing one that's 20 years old or 90 years old, it make a world of difference because of code requirements and things like that we're going to have to comply with the older homes, and it may take away from the actual rehab if we've just made them code compliant. And
Fair question too. So there is no age limit on the home or sort of requirement. Our intention would be as to try to get as many pre-applications so we can gauge interest from the community. But Justin is right saying that we're going to try to identify a targeted area where we can show that we have a need in that area, and by fixing the homes that we would select, we can make a demonstrable impact there. Age is one thing. We're going to have to put together a housing program here, which will have what we call a walk-away policy. So we're going to have to really look at each home and say, for 22.5, can we do anything to this home, or is it a two-story giant home from 1886 that is going to take $250,000 to fix? We're going to have to really figure out how much, and we may have to walk away from homes. But it's our intention to gauge the need, try to prove an impact each home that we can actually do what we propose we're going to do.
But that criteria will be set up before we start selecting.
Absolutely, yeah. We're going to say if it's too expensive, we can't touch it for the money.
Right. Okay.
I think the intention is to add 20 years of useful life.
Which is why right now we have the pre-applications open, so we want to get as many of those as we can, gauge the interest in that area and see, well, we've got 10 reasonable projects that we can use as part of our application.
I had two questions. One you just answered. So if you went into a home and 22.5 isn't going to touch what it really is needed, you'll say, can't do this.
Well, we'll say, I think what we're going to need, we'll organize sort of a housing quality board that will take care of what we call a housing program. So we're going to have to, air that out and talk about it. yes, you're right. There may be a home that we may have to walk away from.
22.5, you'd just be wasting your money because there's too many other issues.
Well, and 22.5 is really not very much
Yeah,
money
no, I
when it comes
understand
to
that.
real
You
estate.
can put a roof on a house, so. take care
The
of
second
body.
question is,
Well,
if you go to an individual and they say, well, we'd like to redo our kitchen, but their porch is falling down. Can you say, well, we'd like to help you, but we don't think that that's the way to go with this money?
I don't think the intent of the program is to upgrade a kitchen with modern appliances and finishes to make it new and modern. I don't think that's the intention. Now, if the kitchen's falling apart and water's leaking places and it's a health and quality issue, then we'll look at that. Of course, the porch also. So it'll be the housing quality inspector's job to go in there and assess the work write-up, basically give us an idea of what we can. And so we'll have to, that's where the administrator has value, that working with the housing quality inspector and also the contractor that might be on board. Cannot do, working with the homeowner as well to say, we have $22,500 roughly. What do you think is, we try to discuss that to make sure.
I just have one more question. If it's a great idea, and I know that we have some ARPA money that, have we?
We don't have any ARPA money, do we?
We have a little bit. Well,
I'm just wondering if we get to one of these houses and we say 22.5
no.
isn't enough.
Actually, I would
it really
say-
needs 3,000 more to really make a difference.
Angling on
Can we
stuff,
can we commingle those funds?
We appropriated the remaining money to city projects. So
So there's
I think we would be putting ourselves in a little risk there if we're going to be paying that money to residents for their projects, because we told the federal government we're appropriating it for city projects. We've given a good large chunk of the ARPA money to housing projects in town, over 700,000 or so, or around 700,000, I'd say, to various housing projects and construction in town. But the remainder that we have left, we appropriated to city projects and the nonprofit grants, which are open right now.
Right. Okay.
Any other questions?
Public hearing.
Do what?
We'll need to open the public hearing.
Okay, we'll open this topic to the public hearing. If anybody has comments about that. Hearing none. Public hearing's closed. Would we take a vote here?
No
Okay.
vote. Just hold.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Mr. Nordstrom. Appreciate it. Hope it's all moves smoothly. Justin? I will move to item number 2, resolution number 3405, a resolution of the governing body of the city of Atchison, Kansas, authorizing the sale and conveyance of certain properties to B&M Freight Depot LLC. Presented again by Justin Prajant, consultants.
All right, thank you. This is the final step in the process that was initiated to do what's called an industrial revenue bond to benefit the Riverfront Brewery project. Industrial revenue bond issue is the state of Kansas allows us to go through this industrial revenue bond process, and it garners for a private project a sales tax exemption certificate, and that sales tax exemption certificate exempts a project from sales tax on materials and in some cases labor. But what I mostly want to communicate here is that this is there's a lot of paperwork involved in this transaction, but the city doesn't put any funding into it. There's not actually any financing changing hands here. The easiest way that I've come up with to describe it is that it's a self-purchasing $0 bond issue. So self-purchasing meaning that the only thing that happens is that B&M Freight Depot is buying their own bond, and that bond in this case is for $0. No actual financial transaction happening. All of this paperwork has to be done to give them a sales tax exemption instruction. I also want to have on the record here that this is not a unique thing that's been done here. The exact same thing has been done for the Fox Theater project. There's been a number of times where the hospital has had bonds issued, same type of thing. Holiday Inn Express project. Atchison County frequently does this for the benefit of Benedictine College projects. So an industrial revenue bond issue is a pretty common economic development transaction, and this is the required tail end of that process.
Did we not agree to this up front
Yes.
already?
Yes.
Months ago?
Yes.
Months and months ago?
We need a motion on this then?
Years, I would say. Yeah.
Okay, years of time. When you're 75, time goes by fast, Bill.
You're elderly, huh? Do we need a motion on this?
Yes.
Yes.
I so move.
Good motion, second. All those in favor?
It's
Or we got a
roll
roll
call.
call here, excuse me, Tina?
Vice Mayor Wilcox?
Yes.
Commissioner Greenlee?
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy?
Yes.
Commissioner Slattery?
Yes.
Thank you.
Might be too late, I'm asking one question. This is not on sales. This tax has nothing to do with actual sales.
No, not from the business. It's on the construction project, which is complete.
Yep.
Good point.
Okay, we'll move on to item 3, Resolution 3406, Kansas Homeland Security Region K Hazard Mitigation Plan, presented by Pat Weiser.
This will be pretty easy. This is just something that we readopt every 5 years. FEMA just has us redo this. Basically, it's just kind of a roadmap of what hazards are, what qualifies them to be hazards, and this is basically for funding in an emergency situation if there was some catastrophe and we wanted to have FEMA come in and provide funding or any other services. They just want us to have this in place. It just defines the region and it defines what certain hazards would be or how to define certain hazards. So it's, like I said, it's just something it's pretty much stayed the same over those years because nothing's changed in this region. And it's basically just a small bite of the Northeast Kansas area. It's just the 4 or 5 counties up here in the Northeast Kansas regions.
I will note, just for commission and for public, anyone who wants to see this, it's over 500 pages long, so we did not include it in your printouts. I think there's a link. It's in the full agenda packet online, as well as, we can provide it to anyone who wants to see it.
Page 113, I gave up.
Yeah.
It's pretty boring stuff. There's nothing binding in there that would hold us to anything in the event of these. It's just something that FEMA wants us to have in place just to kind of organize the area and the hazards that we might face.
I'm going to ask you a question just for my own personal information. Does each state have their own homeland security?
They all work under
federal?
the same umbrella from the federal government. So yeah, each state and each county, down to each county, has their own emergency management director that answer up the chain to each state, and then that state to the federal level.
And
And
does
FEMA
anyone
gives
know
out a
what
lot
the
of-
status of the homeland security is right now?
Yes.
You do?
What was your question?
Does anyone know what the status of that department is?
No.
At the federal level?
Not any more
at this point?
not any more than you do and what we've seen on the news. I know.
Chaos world.
Yeah.
Because I
It
tried
is.
looking it up today, and
I'd move that we approve Resolution 3406.
I'll second.
we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
New business number 4, Patriot Street Sewer Main Relocation. Clinton McAmey.
All right, so we've talked about this a few different times, not necessarily the sewer relocation aspect of it, but back in September of '23, City Commission authorized us to accept up to $1.2 million. I can't even say the word. $1.2 million in 100% construction cost grant funding through KDOT via their off-system bridge program. So Patriot Street Bridge, for the folks that aren't familiar with that terminology, that is where Patriot Street becomes Julia Street, close to the intersection of Anziger, over by Bromley Park. It crosses Brewery Creek, and the bridge needs to be replaced due to deteriorated conditions. The plan, we've already done design. The plan is to go back with a structure that's more of a concrete culvert than a bridge. The current sewer main that runs through there is attached to the underside of the bridge, and that is not an option for the route we're going with the culvert system. So the sewer, that portion of sewer main needs to be relocated. It'll swing to the north, kind of downstream of Brewery Creek, and then back to its original alignment. That's what the easements that you approved in the consent agenda relate to. We received, and this is not part of the grant. The grant does not cover relocation of utilities. So this will be a city project. Received 2 bids from Wagner and from MCON, with the low bid from MCON of $144,610. Got a little bit of sticker shock from that, considering our engineering estimate from last year was just under $90,000. However, with the 2 bids, they are very close, which does give me some confidence that that's, those aren't necessarily out of line. This is not in the wastewater CIP, but that's where it would be coded to. We feel there's enough elasticity with that CIP to be able to absorb this. I mean, we have annual programs that we don't always spend, in addition to some past projects of recent years that have come in significantly under budget. That should provide us enough cushion for this. And I think I put a note in there that, because I think I wrote this report when the federal freeze was active, and then so I have a note in there about the potential impact of that on the off-system bridge money. However, that seems to not be a immediate concern at the moment as we're having this conversation. But
So
yeah,
you're gonna have to shut the sewer line down for a while?
I'm not exactly sure how they'll try to do that. There are methods to keep things live temporarily, but I don't know that I know to that
What
detail.
stops us from just running it along by the culvert?
It would be in the opening. Like, so if it's going to be a square culvert under there and it'd be suspended right by the opening, I think their concern would be that it would collect debris. It's probably
Them away from, so it doesn't collect debris.
it'll be suspended across the
How big of
The
a channel
channel.
is it?
it's either 6 or 8. For some reason, I'm thinking it's 8 right there.
I looked at, I thought every bit of that.
Is what?
I thought it was every bit of that, but I didn't look that close.
Where it spans the opening of the creek, it'll be ductile iron. It's plastic otherwise, but it'll be ductile iron, and it'll be mounted on concrete piers where it daylights across the
So it's
creek.
almost gonna be like another little bridge below it, really, in a way, isn't it? Support that pipe.
Yeah, I mean, it'd just be the piers, and then the iron pipe itself will support itself in that regard.
I'm no engineer, of course, but wouldn't that be subject to debris collection itself?
I would say there's potential for that, but I couldn't tell you what the reason why it's better to be down. I'd have to think about that for a second. It's just, we talked about it. Well, there's wing walls that come off of this, so it'd have to probably go through the wing walls, and it's probably just easier to get out and around it. And also because the grant doesn't cover utility relocations, it wasn't advantageous to incorporate it into the actual structure that's being built.
That's quite a little addition, though, to the bridge. You take that 150,000 for this. and-
10%, 10% more.
Even if we moved it closer to the bridge,
But-
we'd save some, but not the whole project.
I
We
think
still have to do the work.
I think the impetus to do this is because we're getting 100% construction funding on that bridge replacement. And that bridge, it's been since I've been around that it was, street department did it on a low budget restoration, they went in and the deck was coming apart. Jackhammered it down to exposed the rebar, which had already been open to the elements and rusted, and they sandblasted the rebar, coated it with a rust preventer, a rust inhibitor, and then poured the new concrete on top of that deck. But it's starting to, we knew it was a Band-Aid. That's probably been, I don't know, is that since you've been around, Justin, or was that before you? I suspect it was before you.
All of Branchton area.
I think it was before you started, so I bet it's been over 12 to 15 years ago.
That'd be back in the 70s. They would have done that back in the 70s.
I like that.
It's probably been done more than once. I said it's probably been restored to some extent more than once over the years, but the last time of any significance, it's been within my time here, so I believe it was probably in the 12 to 15 year ago time frame. But like I said, it's concrete and it's deteriorating, and there's going to be a point where we need to do it, and we might not have 100% construction funding up to $1.2 million when that time comes. So I look at the sewer cost as a pretty good trade in order to get that bridge dealt with before it becomes an emergency.
Probably didn't cost that much to build the bridge originally.
I don't know.
Go back that many years.
You're gonna put a tube in there now, though, right?
No culvert.
Oh.
I believe it'll be
Prefab culvert, or it's gonna be poured in
That's the
place?
I think
bridge.
I believe it might be prefab, but I'm thinking it's probably going to be.
That'll be up to KDOT. They're doing the project 100%.
Yeah, I believe it's a square structure, and like I said, it has wings that come off of it, and then we'll armor the bank with riprap and improve to a certain extent upstream and downstream of it.
It gets some use too. There's probably 50 Amazon and UPS trucks a day that go.
Well, if you scroll down through that, it'll show the detail probably of.
Coming to our house.
Here?
And you don't want to do something after something happens, bad happens.
Yes. End up with like U Street Bridge.
There's kind of that bottom diagram kind of shows how the sewer would look.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's nothing super complex. It's just
There isn't a whole lot of water comes down that anymore, is there?
There was. I was up
Just
there
Brewery Creek.
yesterday. There's a lot of water.
What, like 3 feet deep?
I don't know. I
Wasn't-
didn't get
wasn't
out
that
and put my foot into it, but there's a lot of water. That's the primary.
Organic Creek, it depends how
that
much
flooded the
melting
city back
or
in
rain you've had.
1957.
with Warnock being out with having a dam now. I think it
That
regulates.
changed it a lot.
But still, after heavy rain, it backs up.
Rain, it's
When the dam backs up, it'll put out a significant amount of water. It's just, but it meters it, to some extent. So I don't think we're having the flooding issues that we would have had back in the.
Any other questions? If not, do we have a motion?
I so move.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor? Please indicate aye. Any negative? No. Okay. Move to item number 5, wastewater treatment. Thank you for that. Wastewater treatment plant, electrical repairs. Again, Clinton, please.
All right, so we have, recently we had an underground buried electrical line that feeds power to our blower building. And the blowers are the things that blow air into the aeration system to do a number of things such as removing organic pollutants and feeding the organisms that feed on those and helping the gas to off-gas the wastewater. We just did some significant upgrades to the blower building not too long ago. I'm not sure how old the buried line is, other than the facility itself is late 50s vintage, so it could very well be many decades old. But it deteriorated to some extent underground, had some short issues and things like that. In an emergency situation, we had to have a company come in and run a temporary line, and it's just laying across the ground, but it's made for that, but it can't be a permanent solution. This is the proposal for the permanent solution to put that buried line back into service, and it is from Dave and Electric for $31,365, and I'm asking for $1,500 in additional change order authority.
Did we get any local electrical contractors?
Davin, the guys down there typically use Davin. And I was going to ask Jim, because I thought I was going to get that question, and I did not get a chance to. I think I've been asked that question before, but my memory is not as good as it used to be. But I believe he would probably say that Davin may be more familiar with those type of systems down there, and certainly they have been because they've been working on it for a number of years now. The parts, when you go a direction with an electrician, you want to keep with the same breakers and the same electrical components, but certainly specific to this issue, they needed somebody down there in an emergency situation, get that power restored to the lower building. That was Davin, and it seemed natural to continue with Davin, even though if this was something that was, we need to do this 6 months down the road, I probably would have requested competitive bids. So if you notice in the quote that's attached to this, there's another part of that quote, for some work, 120,000, I think is roughly what it was, for some stuff that needs to happen at some point. If we pursue those things, those would be up for bid. We wouldn't just automatically go with a certain contractor for something like that. So this is to expedite the permanent repair. So.
Okay. Well, I would move that we do that if we're done talking about it.
Any other comments, questions? If not, you can move.
I'll second.
Second. Okay.
Think
Other
local
comments?
contractors.
All right, all those in favor, please indicate by aye.
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 Any opposed? Hear none? Good there. Thank you, Clinton. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, we need to move to executive session at this point.
I make a move.
Mr. Henderson. Oh, yes. Yeah, we'll give him a minute and a half.
Well, I appreciate you taking me out of time. My name is Patrick Henderson. I'm county counselor. I don't know if the commission is aware that you received an audit from somebody known as a First Amendment auditor, which is somebody with a camera that walks around, takes pictures in public buildings, and tries to get a rise out of the people that are working there so they can post on the internet about how jackbooted bureaucrats are abusing their authority, whatnot. Your people did terrific at that. It's something I've been concerned about with the county, and we've done a little training on it, and it's clear that you've done some training on it. They talked to Emily initially. Tina Fitzpatrick came out and really took control of the situation and did a great job with that. On the way out the door, he asked kind of a boorish question of Christy Myers, and she handled it with her usual good humor and charm, and he wasn't able to get a rise out of any of them. They all did a terrific job. I wanted you to know that. I don't know if you've seen that video. If not, I can send that email link or the YouTube link so you can see it. Just a short addition to that, they also, two of your police officers were involved later in the day with the same person, but it's in a different video, and he kind of put two together kind of misleadingly, I think. But anyway, I think it was Jordan Knoll and Malik Wedlow, and they both handled themselves very well.
So this wasn't a governmental thing, or this was a?
No, it's just a member of the public that, with a YouTube person with a YouTube channel, and I don't remember the name of this one, Kansas City something.
Accountability.
Okay, Kansas City Accountability. And that's what they do. They will come into public buildings and start taking video and asking questions and really just trying to get a rise out of the people that are working there and trying to get somebody there to tell them you're not allowed to put video here, you're not allowed to be here, this is a private space and all that. So I just wanted you to know that your staff did a terrific job.
Well, thank you.
Good to
Yes,
hear.
appreciate it.
And if you could stomach 2 more minutes from me.
Absolutely.
I had a friend last week who had a very significant mental health crisis. 4 of your officers were very helpful, very patient, very kind. They spent a couple of hours dealing with us on that, and that was John O'Grady, Brian Peterson, Wyatt Richardson, and Curtis Page. So I appreciate them, thank them. So they did a great job. Sorry to interrupt your meeting, thank you.
Patrick, stop by more often.
Yeah.
If I remember, I'm just always late.
I wouldn't hold that against anybody.
Okay, are we ready to move to executive session for consultation with the city attorney to discuss privileged attorney-client matters such as litigation for claims against the city pursuant to KSA 754319B2. Recommended action, move that the governing body recess into executive session for consultation with the city attorney to discuss privileged attorney-client matters such as litigation for claims against the city pursuant to KSA 75-4319B2 with the city manager, Mark Westoff, chief of police, Mike Wilson, Clint McEnany, public work and utilities director, and city attorney, Robert Campbell.
Should
I so
be
move.
about 20 minutes, so
So we go for 20 minutes as a starting
Okay.
point. Starting at
5:45, say.
okay, we'll go to 5:45.
I make such a motion.
Well, I'll second it then.
All those in favor indicate with aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we'll see you at 5:45.